Senator Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Casey, I actually enjoyed listening to your comments about that it would be nice to achieve the scientific certainty that that our folks here may have a balanced approach, and I would settle for just an ounce of optimism towards that. And we've heard very consistently questions around finding a way to be objective in this process, and certainly with you two, we are looking for those answers because it's an important part of the equation. One thing that I think is noteworthy is that the NLRB is not designed to be an extension of the president's team. We've had a lot of conversation of late of creating teams, letting the president finish his team, and ultimately your nominations have been stuck in the quagmire pit of the president's team, and I hope that we all realize that the NLRB should not be a part of the president's team, but the goal of the NLRB should be to become neutral arbiters. And I say become because the activities of late of the NLRB has been anything but neutral. I hope your roles, if you are confirmed, will include perhaps a paradigm shift from your experience in the workforce, it seems to me, to one that allows you to take a look at things from a neutral perspective. I think, Ms. Schiffer, as I look at your experience, certainly you've had lots of experience on the labor side, one that gives me a reason to pause and be concerned, and would love to hear your answer at the end of my comments as it relates to how we could have greater confidence in your ability as well as yours, sir, to be objective. And as I looked through the experience in your history on the side of laborers, I noted the last 12 years you've been the Assistant General Counsel for the AFL-CIO, and we just heard you talk about card check. You've testified twice before Congress on card check in a position where you don't necessarily like the secret ballot concepts, or the 18 years that you spent working at the department, the AFL-CIO's Department of United Auto Workers in Detroit, or as recently as 2004, you were a member of the UAW 1981. So those are some of the reasons that I find myself concerned and looking for not scientific certainty, but just an ounce of hope would be fantastic from my perspective. You said today that you believe in the act, the NLRA, the act. In 2007, you said that the NLRA, the act itself, was being used as a sword, which is used by employers to frustrate employees' freedom of choice. And you also said that the act no longer protects workers' rights to form a union. Further, the comments that you've made about employers have gone from they spy, harass, threaten, intimidate, bribe, and suppress. It seems to me that there is a perspective that may have been tainted on one side or the other, and in 2010, you commented that we really need to streamline the election process and eliminate so much delay that is now built into the National Labor Relations Act process. And I'm not sure if you realize that the Acting Attorney General's Counsel FY 2011 Summary of Operations set a target of about 42 days for a union to be formed, and the fact is that we are below target, around 38 days, but it seems to indicate a strong position for what we call the ambush election process, which only takes about 10 days. Of course, one of my favorites, of course, is your attack on the House Republicans in 2012 that I was a part of when you made your comments. You attacked, I think it was my bill specifically, H.R. 2587, that prohibited the NLRB from destroying jobs created in one state in order to move them to another state. Your comments passing legislation in the House to deny the NLRB authority to remedy illegal conduct when a company eliminates or transfers work in order to deny workers their rights, I take great exception. First, there's no question that, as you are, I'm sure, well aware, the NLRB has a number of weapons in their arsenal. The one that 2587 eliminated, had it passed both houses and the president signed it, which was obviously not going to happen. Had it happened, however, it would have eliminated the opportunity for the NLRB to transfer jobs from South Carolina back to Washington. The premise of your comments was, in fact, that somehow, some way, there was an elimination of jobs in Puget Sound, Washington, when in fact there were 2,000 jobs added to Puget Sound while we were adding 5,000 jobs in South Carolina. So my real question really is the same question we've heard asked a number of times, is how can we have a high level of confidence of objectivity or impartiality, or what we used to call the neutral arbiter, the NLRB?
It is, as I stated, I started my work at my career as a lawyer. I've been an NLRA, primarily involved in traditional NLRA issues for 37 years. But I started at the National Labor Relations Board, and I started in the capacity of being a neutral board agent. And as I said, I received a commendation from John Irving for that. But my point is that I take what I do very seriously, and I understand the importance of doing the job in the appropriate way. And I did that when I was at the National Labor Relations Board, and I hoped that I did that when I worked for the United Auto Workers and in private practice and for the AFL-CIO. I spoke when I testified from my own personal experiences. I saw workers who had been spied on. I saw workers who had been followed into the bathroom while they were at work so that their supervisors could hear who they talked to and what they talked about.
I think that,
so I tried to bring those experiences.
I certainly see your point. I would just say that the generic classification of employers, generically speaking, as spies, harassing, threatening, creates an environment or a culture that seems to be inconsistent with most of the employers that I have had the opportunity to converse with and pay attention to. But I would just love to have some sense that there is the ability to be unbiased in the job that you are.
I appreciate that, and I want the Act to succeed. I'm committed to the Act. I want this, now that we have this opportunity possibly for a fully confirmed, a full National Labor Relations Board with confirmed members, that it can be viewed as a fair and honest broker in these cases. And I'm committed to working with the board staff, to developing good relationships. I indicated that I have some experience with that already with Phil Miscamara, and to develop that with the other board members so that we can have productive and take advantage of each other's differing backgrounds and experiences, because we bring them, and be able to reach fair, reasoned decisions that are viewed that way, and so that people will have confidence in the board. That will be my role if I'm confirmed as a member of the board.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.